So for step 27, attaching the subdeck, well, you can see here that we're going to slide the front half into the rear half, and then there are 4 screws that are going to be used to screw this into the top. So there are our tapping screws. So I'll set this up and let's put it together. So the first thing we need to do is grab both halves of the chassis, and you can see that the way this is going to work is that essentially has to slide under. So if we were to turn this over, you can actually see this more. Those 2 bits need to slide under there, which will then connect there. So again, it's just you're sliding the 2 pieces together. So from the top, you can see that there are 4 screws, and that's what we're going to be working on right here. The 4 screws will attach it here. So let's get one of them in, and I want to make sure that that's all fitting together correctly. So let's get the 1 screw in, and let's put another one in there. And we've got a 3rd screw up there. And another screw right here. And again, I'm not tightening these all the way down. I just want to make sure that they're all seating properly. You can see there's a bit of play, but once we've locked this in, it'll be fine. So we can start tightening these down now. In fact, I'll go back to this way because it really is the easiest way to tighten these down, because you can have one hand on one side so that you can have a little bit more leverage and kind of feel those screws going in. So that's in, that's in, that's in, and that's in. So there is the 4 screws for the top. Now, I don't know why they've made this a separate step, but if you move on to step 28, it says attaching subdeck 2. Well, this is where we're going to put the screws into the bottom of the chassis. So for step 28, you can see that we're going to work on the bottom side. And on the bottom, there are 4 screws all the way along, which you can see there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll set this up and we'll continue to attach the front and rear halves together. So if you see this, the way that front and rear are coming together, there are 4 holes essentially, but what they're wanting you to use is the 4 in line. So it's the 2 at the front here and then the 2 side ones. So again, 2 at the front and then the 2 side ones. So I'm going to get the middle one in here for starters. Now, I'm not going to go all the way, but I want to get it enough that there's something holding this together. Now that's interesting. So that plate, you can't put pressure on it because it wants to push out. You can see, I don't know if you can see on the other side, well, maybe not. You're going to need to hold this down with a finger to be able to make sure that that's not getting pushed up. And I'll show you on the other end now that I've done it. Because you could feel it, that it was almost acting like a springboard. These ones are screwing into something solid on the other side. So no problem there. I can continue to just screw those in. But watch what happens when you screw this one in. when you put pressure, and I can feel it now, I don't even need to touch it. So if I even put my thumb on there and push, notice that top piece is popping out. It's because that's one of the loose bits when we were sliding it through to connect the two. So I'm going to put my finger on the other side this time around to hold it down so it's not quite so much like a springboard. Now because they're all going in, I'm going to, tighten these guys up. And there we go. In fact, I'll turn this around now that we're working on this side. And this guy, lastly, which I can still tell it's wanting to pop out, so I'm going to push it, put a little bit more pressure on it. But there we go. So now these two halves are solid. So there is our BT-01 chassis together. It's a pretty long chassis, actually. But very, very cool. I've actually really enjoyed building this. It's so different from the usual. But very, very cool. So that's it for step 28. Our chassis is together, so moving on to step 29, we're going to be now checking the RC equipment.